Welcome back, you amazing twisted mother lovers. I pile myself with research every week to bring you the most ultimate twisted story I can. And everything I cover is well researched and based on true events. So go ahead, pull up that twisted couch, invite your friends back over, because it's time for me to once again take you back into the unknown in today's episode of Twisted Couch Talk. Welcome back, you amazing twist heads. You just keep coming back with just those messages and, informing me on places where I need to improve and suggestions and all that. Oh my goodness. Keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. I love it. I love it. It's a way for me to improve. And you know what? If I said something wrong, I'm trying, okay? I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. But welcome back nonetheless. And I hope you guys are having a fantastic Friday, whether it's morning, evening, nighttime. You eat some of that, scrambled eggs, or maybe your mama's cooking up some of that sweet ass meatloaf. But you know what? It's Friday. So I was sitting here and I was deciding what I was going to do. Christmas is coming up. I think I want to cover holidays because all the podcasters out there, they don't do that. They take the holidays off, and I want to cover some twisted topics in regards of, said holidays. So announcement, we're going to have a Christmas special. It's going to be a good one. It's all you need to know about Krampus. And he's one scary looking dude. I'd be terrified if he came for me. That's all I got to say. But nonetheless, make sure you guys come back and listen to me on Christmas Day. I'm here for you guys, and I want to have some fun while we're doing it. Quick, very, 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 very quick announcements. Facebook. Make sure you guys are following Twisted Couch Talk on Facebook. It's important. I want to, grow the community and see where it goes. As I've said, many times before. Patreon. I now have a Patreon where you can donate. You can donate at patreon.com/Twisted Couch Talk. It's a subscription. Go to the website and you'll find out what I'm talking about. It's for the people who just love the twist and want to, donate and help me. You know what? Enough of the business crap. Let's just get into it. And I have been so excited to tell you guys about the Russian doll man. I remember when I first heard about it, it literally made my skin crawl. Like, when you're scared and you can feel your hairs stand on end and you get the goosebumps? That's what this gave me because, I saw pictures and it was pretty creepy. I'm not going to lie to you guys. There's going to be links and you can find out where I got all my information, where I watched the videos, etc. This is a very, very creepy one. Prepare yourself for the story of the Russian doll man. Okay, so the Russian doll man. His real name is Anatoly Moskvin. Moskvin. He was born in oh God, that's gonna be hard to say. Nizhny Novgorod. He was born in Nizhny Novgorod. There we go. In Russia. And that was the 5th largest city in Russia. And he was born September 1st, 1996. His father's name was Yuri. His mother's name was Elvira. Okay, so growing up, his parents said that he was really socially awkward, and it made it hard for him to, make friends. And while he grew up, he was extremely smart. His teachers would go on to say how smart he was. He always excelled in class. He was kind of like a Sheldon off of the Big Bang Theory, if you really think about it. If you think about Sheldon's whole persona, he wasn't about coitus. He was about study, 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 and even the way that he talked, it was kind of similar, believe it or not. So he was pretty similar to Sheldon off the Big Bang Theory. So his parents came to the conclusion that it was his intelligence is what made him so awkward and made it hard for him to, make friends. Later on, Anatoly would come out and say something that happened in his childhood, and trigger warning, this was a little graphic. When he was in the 3rd grade and about 8 years old, He came home one day from school badly beaten and covered in bruises. He said that he was horribly violently raped. That's horrible. But it's also unknown if he ever really told his parents about the situation or not. He said he began wandering through cemeteries with friends when he was still a schoolboy. In particular, they visited the Karasanya Etna Cemetery located in Novgorod, Russia. When he was 13 years old, he claimed a group of men in black suits or in long black robes that had hoods stopped him on the way from school. And I say it's either one or the other because this is he said, she said, but this event did happen. Now, whether they wear suits or they wear robes, you pick. What's more creepy doesn't matter because what's about to happen is horrible. And these guys that came up to him, they made him come to this funeral. The people that stopped him, they were en route. They were on their way to this funeral of an 11-year-old girl. Her name was Natasha Petrova. Petrova. And she had died from electrocution. What type of electrocution? We're not exactly sure. It could be something in her home, but it wasn't anything horrendous. It was just she got electrocuted, plugging something in, possibly, and she had passed. Very sad. That 11 is way too young. Now, this is such a horrible thing. Okay, so this whole thing that happens, they stop him as he's walking and they take him to this funeral, right? So they get there and the people start singing in a language that he's unaware of, singing psalms or what you would hear in your typical churches. But they were singing these songs in a different language. And then they grabbed him. The parents of the daughter grabbed him and pulled him up to the door of the coffin and forced him to kiss her. Yeah. Yeah, they forced him to kiss her. What is going on? He's walking down the road and then they pick him up and take him. These random people picked him up and took him to a funeral and they forced him to kiss this corpse that he doesn't even know who she is. Okay, this is really, really weird. Okay, so it gets even more weird. So, okay, after they force him to kiss this little girl, he states that he kissed her 3 times. The first time he was pushing away and he didn't want to, and then he kissed her. And then kind of was a little comfortable with it, and then kissed her 3 times total. Okay, so after that, could you imagine this? Okay, so you're going through this, and then after all that, his mother, pulls him back up and then gives him an apple as a reward. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. If this happened to me, I would throw that apple at her face and I would run. But, that's just me. Okay, so after she gives him the apple, she goes on to give him 2 rings. She gives him a brass ring and he holds on to it, and I guess that's for him. He has it, and she placed the other ring on her daughter's wedding ring and stated to him that they were now married. Yeah. Yeah, oh God, how weird is that? Like, the whole situation doesn't matter if they're in robes or suits or anything. Okay, you're 11 years old or 12. She was a little younger than him. And as a kid, you're very impressionable. And you sit here and you're like, okay, so she's my wife. He took it very serious. He thought that was his wife. And his wife would lead him into so many dark places, and I'm going to unravel that for you. And my God, it's crazy. Okay, so after that, she gives him the rings, and they have the rings, and she gives him money and gives him more fruit. Okay, who carries all this to a funeral? Money, I understand. Fruit and everything else. Who carries that to a funeral? But anyways, nonetheless, she gives him money, and he goes and gets out of there. Man, he cheeses it. He books it. Okay, so later on, he goes home, and he states that he starts having dreams about the dead girl. The girl that he went to her funeral and was forced to go to, and all those horrific things happened. He started having dreams about her. She would visit him And at first, she would visit him, and that would be it. And he would wake up. He would wake up from his dream, remembering seeing her. And then it became more vivid and more vivid. And it happened every night. Like I said, she started to profess her knowledge of the black magic and started begging him to come back to the place where she was buried and perform the black magic with her. That literally, I have goosebumps. That literally just gave me chills. Okay, you guys got to remember, I'm alone right now in a house, quiet, so I can record. It just gives me chills. I don't mess with the paranormal. You'll find that out later on. I don't mess with that crap. Anyways, she starts showing up in these dreams and trying to teach him the black magic. So as I would hope my children would do, he wakes up and tells his parents. Thank God, at least he gets a little bit of help. They start seeking help. They go to a children's therapy clinic and they take him to a doctor. The pediatric doctor said that it was just him going through stages of puberty and the incident, that he had went through, and this is what's causing all of this. So on top of all that, everything that he was going through, the doctor goes ahead and prescribes him Valorin. Valorin is a herbal-based medicine to help with calming down and relaxing the patient. Okay, so these dreams go on for an entire year. The girl keeps showing up in his dreams, and she grows tired of him not going back to the burial place and not doing these rituals that she's telling him to do, and she gets restless. Because of all the refusal, she made a deal with him. She assigned him of a task of carrying out a black magic type ritual, and he had to get a classmate's tooth. Okay, follow me here. Follow me. Okay, so by giving that tooth to her, she would instead haunt that little boy or little girl that he gets that tooth from instead of him. I mean, I know this sounds really wrong. Sounds really wrong. 12 years old, well, I'm going to be scared and I'm going to be like, let me go get, let me, I'm gonna go ahead and get this tooth. So she said that if he did this, she would leave him alone forever. And he said, thanks to doing the black magic, so that means that obviously he did it. She never, I'm getting chills again. She never showed up again. Whew, that's creepy. Where on God's green earth did this kid get that tooth from? How do you even begin to start a conversation with a friend? Hey, by the way, I'm having these dreams about a demonic girl. She's demonic in my mind, but I'm having these dreams of a demonic girl, and I need your tooth. Is that how he started? I mean, how do you start that? Hey, I know the tooth fairy. She's been skipping you out a little bit. It's leaving you them little $5 bills. I got you, dog. Let me go ahead and get you. I got you 20 on it. I'm sorry. That's what I think kids nowadays talk like. But is that how it went down? Did he pay somebody to get that tooth? How did he get that tooth? Oh, that drives me nuts. And did the tooth have cavities? Was it a pristine tooth? Was it a molar? Was it a front tooth? My God, so many questions. Anyways, that doesn't matter. He got the damn tooth. But anyways, after that life-changing event, he had become obsessed with the black magic and the occult. It is said that he goes back to where the girl was buried and visits, which, that's normal. You would go back and visit. But would you sleep on it? Would you sleep on somebody's grave? Oh, it's giving me so many chills. So he would go back to this girl's burial and sleep on her tomb. He would sleep on her grave. Anyways, after he graduated high school, he said he wanted to become a teacher to teach English to children to boost the foreign languages in school. That makes sense. I mean, after what he does, I wouldn't recommend it, but makes sense. And cool. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. He would go on and eventually earn his advanced degree in Celtic studies. Okay. I had to look up what that meant. And what I got was a culture whose mythology often blurs between the thin line of life and death. Basically, Um, it's the studies of everything between life and death. They even bury their dead with items such as food, weapons, and personal trinkets, which that's honestly really not that strange because Egyptian people used to be buried with riches and all that. So that's actually not that weird. It's not that unusual to bury the dead with, food and all that in case they came back in the afterlife type thing. That's normal. Okay, so this is when he would kind of take a spiraling path, and you'll see where it goes. He would go down the path and follow the Luciferians. I don't know what that meant. I'm a Catholic. I don't know what the hell that means, so I got to look it up. They mainly, ooh, okay, so they mainly focus on sexual magic and personal anarchy. What is sexual magic? Do you Is it like BDSM where you like enchant the handcuffs or something? Like what sexual magic? How You know what? I want to know what you guys think. Tell me what you think sexual magic is. My God. Anyways, so with this and the dark magic and the practices, he then started participating in rituals on dead animals. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Moskvin became very well known for his main areas of academic interest, such as Celtic history, folklore, languages, and linguistics. As an adult, Moskvin led a scheduled life. He would speak 13 different languages. He wrote multiple translation dictionaries. In Soviet times, he even worked as a translator for the military of intelligence in the Red Army, and later went on to write several history books. That's kind of neat. Obviously, he's a brilliant man, very brilliant man. Although he never married or dated, preferring to live with his parents, Muscovin abstained from drinking alcohol and smoking, and he's a virgin, never really seeing the interest of intimacy with a woman. Like I said, he was a lot like Sheldon of the Big Bang Theory. He was more focused on his researches and his studies than, seeking a woman or really going out and trying to get that like a lot of guys nowadays do. But in 2016, it was reported that he planned to marry a 25-year-old native woman of his hometown later in his life, but it never did happen. Moscovin had a deep interest in cemeteries, burial rituals, death, and the occult. That's never good, but he kept a personal library of over 60,000 books and documents, as well as a large doll collection. And I don't mean, a large doll collection as in he had a large quantity, like 100 doll. He had a collection of large life-size dolls in the flat, aka apartment, with his parents. In 2005, a fellow publisher commissioned Moskvin to summarize a list of dead in more than 700 cemeteries in 40 regions of, oh God, I gotta say it again, Nizhny Novgorod Oblast. Moskvin claimed that he would do this for about 2 years between 2005 and 2007. He had gone on foot to inspect 752 cemeteries across the region, walking up to 30 kilometers. And in the US, that's 18.6 miles a day. Not total, a day. Wow. That man, every time I hear that and like somebody walking, they're like, I just want to bust out a song. And I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be that man who walked 1,000 miles. Anyways, but back to the story. I feel like walking miles right now. I got to go do that power walk, that old lady with two weights, sweatband. Anyways, okay, so during these travels, he, oh God, I forgot about this part. Okay, so during these travels, he drank from rainwater puddles. Okay, so it said he was commissioned and he was paid. Why is he drinking from puddles? Why would he do that? Why would you do that? Go buy a bottle of water, guy. It's not that. It's 2005, 2000. You can go to a gas station, my dude. Anyways, he drank from rainwater puddles, spent nights in haystacks, and also at abandoned farms. Or he would sleep in cemeteries themselves, even going as far to spend the night in a coffin, being prepared for a funeral. Oh, see, that just makes, I'm going to say it a million times, it makes my skin crawl. Could you guys lay in a coffin ever? I mean, just to try it out, just to go pick out your own coffin. I couldn't lay in a coffin, let alone somebody else's. Ugh, it's creepy. Okay, so on his travels, Moskvin was sometimes questioned by the police on the suspicion of vandalism and theft, but he was never arrested or detained after telling them his, academic credentials and, his purpose. So they were like, go ahead, do your thing. For 4 years, between 2006 and 2010, Moskvin worked as a freelance correspondent for the newspaper Nizhny Novgorod Worker, publishing articles twice a month. His father also sometimes wrote for the same newspaper. That's kind of cool. But sometime in 2009, locals began to discover their graves of loved ones desecrated, sometimes completely dug up. Wow. That's imagine it's Memorial Day weekend. That's when my family we go and place flowers and all that of all my family members. And if I went to my grandmother's gravesite and her picture was missing and half of her headstone or her headstone itself was missing and it was all dug up and I would be horrified. First off, why? Anyways, but for nearly 2 years, the Interior Ministry's leads went nowhere. Graves continued to be desecrated and nobody knew why. Exactly. Why? Why would you do that? And then, all of a sudden, a break in the investigation came following a terroristic attack at Domodedowa. Terrorist attacks at Domodedowa. I probably said that wrong, but anyways, the airport there in Moscow in 2011. Shortly after, authorities heard reports of Muslim graves being desecrated in Nizhny Novgorod. Investigators were led to a cemetery where a suspect was painting over a grave but not damaging anything. When police arrived, they seen a man painting. It turns out that it was none other than Bob frickin' Ross. It was Bob Ross. Who knew that Bob Ross loved to go to cemeteries and paint beautiful, beautiful pieces of artwork and sell them to the world? No, no, of course that's not true. Rest in peace, Bob Ross. But no, it wasn't Bob Ross. And how many people actually started believing that? At least one. If I got one of you guys, then I'm happy. But no, it wasn't Bob Ross. It was Muscovin. And he was actually pretending to be a painter. That joke wasn't out of context, I promise. He was actually pretending to be a painter. That part is true. And he was caught red-handed vandalizing graves. Being caught red-handed doing anything, that's a sinking feeling and sucks. I can only imagine how he felt, like shovel in hand, like, deer in headlights. Anyways, okay, Moscovin was arrested on November 2nd, 2011 by police for desecrating graves, thus leading 8 police officers to his home where he lives in an apartment with his parents. They knocked on the door and had no idea what they were in for. And when his mother answered the door, they were amazed at what they discovered. They strangely saw 29 life-sized dolls. One of the police officers walked past her immediately and walked up to the doll that was sitting on the couch and it was staring at him. He walked up, kneeled down, and studied the doll's face. He looked closer at it for a moment and started feeling the face of the doll. He realized that the face was flaking apart and continues to remove the wax from the doll's face and realizes underneath all that wax was a human skeleton. That just made my skin crawl again. It doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. So investigators discovered actually 26 dolls, not 29. It was 29 reported. Like they did report 29 dolls, but after investigators went in and removed the bodies and everything, it was actually 26 bodies. Could you imagine right now, wherever you are, as long as you're at home, could you imagine you're sitting down and you have a rotting body on your couch across from you staring at you? Or maybe not just one. Maybe there's one next to it that's a little smaller. Maybe there's 10 of them standing around your room like freaking mannequins. Ugh, how creepy is that crap? Anyways, so they found that many bodies. He later stated that where he would work on the dolls was in the garage. And the dolls that he didn't want or didn't like anymore, he just tossed their body in his garage just to pile up and be there. He didn't want to take them back to the gravesite where they belong. He wanted to just toss them away like garbage and just store them away in his freaking garage. Wow, what a piece of crap. Ugh. Although 26 bodies were discovered in his home, Moscovin was suspected of desecrating as many as 150 graves after police found numerous, trinkets, plates, pictures that were removed from headstones. In all, the 26 dolls that were discovered, their age range was from 3 years old to 25 years old. So he had little babies all the way up to grown women, and they were all girls. They were all either young women or young children. One corpse he had even kept for 9 years. Okay, when asked, his parents would say, "We saw these dolls, but didn't suspect anything. We didn't know that there were bodies inside. We just, thought it was his hobby and wanted to be supporting parents of his hobby, and making giant dolls. And we didn't see anything wrong with it." But when you think about it, a corpse stinks. If they're not embalmed and they're not properly taken care of almost immediate after death, they rot. Humans, I don't remember where I heard this, but they actually rot a lot faster than almost anything else. Look it up and know if I'm right or not. I'm just going off the top of my head, but if that's why we embalm humans as quick as we do, to my knowledge. And how could you not smell that? 26 corpses. House of 1,000 Corpses was a movie. Imagine 26 corpses rotting in your house. The house reeked horribly bad, but they just overlooked the smell. People would say that what really creeped me out was I discovered that he was trying to actually raise the dead with all of his black magic and all of the rituals and everything he was trying to do. And that's one of the reasons why he actually did what he did, was he was trying to bring them back to life. Holy crap. And so knowing that, he was doing all these things with these dolls, right? Trying to bring them back to life, doing rituals. God knows what this man was doing with these damn dolls. And there was actually an incident where his mother was saying she was cooking in the kitchen, and oh, God, this is giving me chills. Okay, so Moscovin actually would put music boxes in these dolls. And so one day she was cooking and she heard, maybe Pop Goes the Weasel, maybe some Calliope music, whatever the tune was. She was cooking and she heard, and it was quiet. It was just her and her husband. She had thought that Moscovin was out in the garage working on a project, and she hears the doll go off. She goes in there and checks it out. There's nobody in there. And then doll's just sitting there by itself. But then she looks down at the ground and realizes that there's footprints coming from the door leading to the garage. So inside the house, there was muddy footprints on the ground to the door. And then outside that door, I'm assuming was a backyard and led to the garage. So she just thought it was Moscovin coming in and out and doing his thing. And later on, when Moscovin would finally come inside, she would say, "Damn it, boy, you need to really quit leaving these dolls around here because they're going to give me a damn heart attack." And he just looks at her and says, "I've been out in the garage all night. I haven't been inside." Okay, so all these dolls resembled antique dolls, and antique dolls have always creeped me out. I remember being a young boy and my grandmother and my mother, they had these glass dolls. hundreds of them, so many of them. I go over to my grandma's house and I remember putting them face down because I didn't want them looking at me because it said that their eyes are the windows for souls to look through and demons. So that always scared the crap out of me. You will never find any type of doll in this damn house. I promise you that. I hate antique dolls. Anyways, okay, so these dolls, they wore fine clothing. Some wore knee-high boots, others had makeup on their faces. He had also hidden their hands in fabric. The cops ended up coming through and filming the apartment, and it shows the bodies seated on shelves, sofas, and small rooms. You can go and see it on YouTube. It'll be in the links in the description. I saw the video and you can see all that. Oh my God, they're scary looking. After you know what they are, before you would think they're just like a paper mache, like a volcano. But think of that, but like in a doll form. That's kind of what they look like. But they're so creepy looking. Police also discovered instructions for making the dolls, maps of the cemeteries in the region, and collection of photographs, videos depicting opening graves and disarrayed bodies. This man really loved the dead. He really loved and was fascinated by dead people. But none of this evidence would be conclusively connected to any of the bodies found in the apartment. When police moved the bodies, they played music as if on cue. Inside the chest of many dolls, Moscovin had embedded music boxes. Police even discovered that clothes worn by the mummified corpses were the clothes in which they were buried. In the chest of the dolls, they found toys and personal belongings, music boxes, and clothing inside some of the mummies. One mummy had a piece of their own gravestone, and her name was written on the piece of the tombstone inside her body. Another one contained a hospital tag with the date and the causing of the girl's death. A dried human heart was found inside a third body, and he would even apply lipstick and makeup to their faces, giving them features. Moscovin admitted that he would stuff decayed corpses with rags and clothing and other things. Then he would wrap them in nylon tights around their faces, hands, and fashion them into dolls. He would also insert buttons. Oh God, I forgot about this part. He would also insert buttons or toys into the girls' eye sockets so that they could watch cartoons with him. What cartoons were even on back then? Maybe Tom and Jerry, the Jetsons, maybe some Flintstones, a little bit of Futurama, possibly. Definitely The Simpsons. He possibly was watching all those cartoons with them. So Moskvin actively cooperated with the investigation and claimed that he made the dolls over the course of 10 years. His parents were away for a large portion of the year, so it gave him a lot of time to do the stuff that he was doing. And they were also unaware of his activities. When his neighbors were asked, they were shocked. They had no idea. They said that he was a quiet person, polite, and his parents were very nice. Sure, the residents smelled, every time they came out and opened the door, but the neighbor chalked that up to, backed up sewage. And that's what all the local people really thought it was just some backed up sewage. That just kind of shows you how bad it really smelled. That if it's being compared to sewage, and I used to do a lot of plumbing work, and God, raw sewage stinks. It's gaggable. It's very gaggable. So Moskvin was charged with over a dozen crimes, all of which dealt with the desecration of graves, and the Russian media called him the Lord of the Mummies. That'd be a good movie almost. Lord of the Mummies. Kind of like The Mummy Returns. Anyways, we're not going to. Yeah, anyways. A psychiatric evaluation determined that Moskvin had suffered a form of paranoid schizophrenia in May 2012. He was sentenced to a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation and has since been held in a psychiatric hospital. Moskvin was charged under Article 244 of the Criminal Code for desecration of graves and dead bodies, a charge that carried up to 5 years imprisonment. Originally, Moskvin was also accused of having defaced the graves of Muslims, considered as a hate crime, but this charge was dropped. And, At this point, I don't really see a problem with him taking that charge. He shouldn't have faced anybody, and them being Muslim, that just made it worse. And if he knew that, that made it even worse. Why would he target just mainly Muslim graves? Like, that's just wrong. So I can understand the hate crime there, and if I was the judge, I would have charged him for it. But anyways, after a psychiatric evaluation, it was determined that Moskvin suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. In a hearing on May 25th, 2012, the court of Novgorod deemed Moskvin unfit to stand trial, releasing him from criminal liability. He was sentenced to life in a psychiatric hospital. The prosecution was satisfied with the decision and did not appeal the verdict. Moskvin was removed to a psychiatric clinic with his stay to be reviewed regularly. In February 2013, a hearing approved an extension of psychiatric treatment. Moskvin's treatment was again extended in April 2014 and yet again in 2015. In 2014, a spokesman stated, after 3 years of monitoring him in a psychiatric clinic, it is absolutely clear that Moskvin is not mentally fit for trial. He will therefore be kept at the psychiatric treatment at the clinic. In September of 2018, Moskvin's doctors stated that he was no longer dangerous and petitioned the courts to release him for outpatient care from his home. However, in February 2019, a numerous amount of psychiatric evaluations found that it was too early to release Moskvin, and the hospital withdrew the petition. Moskvin has stated that the guards beat him up severely all the time. His mother also stated that they put him on 15 different pills, and it puts him in a catatonic state. Honestly, I don't really feel bad. I have 3 little girls, and if somebody dug them up, I'd be beating their face in. Yeah, I wouldn't ask questions. I would make sure that I found them, and I beat their face and caved it in to where it looked like 2 butt cheeks. That's exactly what I would do. Okay. In an interview after his arrest, Moskvin stated that he felt great sympathy for the dead children and thought that, they could be brought back to life, as I stated earlier, by either science or black magic. As an expert on the Celtic culture, Moskvin learned that the ancient Druids slept on graves in order to communicate with the spirits of their dead. He said he began searching for obituaries of recently deceased children. When he found the obituary that spoke to him, he would sleep on the children's grave in order to determine if the spirit wished to be brought back to life or not. Moskvin claimed that he had been doing this for around 20 years. He said when he began, he never dug up the grave without the permission of the children. He would await for them to speak to him and grant him permission to carry their body away. As he grew older, it became physically painful for him to sleep on the graves, so he began bringing the bodies home where he would be more comfortable to sleep near them. He would even sleep with them in his bed. He hoped that spirits would be more willing to speak to him in a safe, welcoming home, and that they might be easier to hear, when they're no longer underground. He even said that he spent one night sleeping in a coffin of a deceased person's funeral, and he woke up, looked ahead, and just stayed there and watched. After exhuming the corpse, Moskvin researched mummification theories and techniques in an attempt to preserve all the bodies. He dried the corpses using a combination of salt and baking soda, and then he would place the bodies in a secure, dry place in and around the cemeteries. So he would do a lot of it there at the cemeteries. He would do a lot of it in his garage at his home when his parents were away on vacation. Once the bodies were dried, Moskvin carried them to his home, where he used various methods to make the dolls in the attempt to give the children functional bodies to use when he eventually discovers a way to bring them back to life. He did all this because he didn't want them to feel ugly. Unable to prevent the bodies from withering and shrinking as they dried, he wrapped the limbs in strips of cloth and stuffed the body cavities with rags and padding to provide fullness. Sometimes he would add, wax to their faces so he could decorate their faces with nail polish or lipstick. Ugh. And then he would begin dressing them and getting them ready in bright colored clothing and would even put wigs on them. These details made the bodies appear to be larger, bigger than your average life-size doll, which also stopped them from being discovered. It was unclear if all the dolls had a full set of human remains. Some dolls, possibly didn't have all the human remains. So if that's the case, that's like, what did he do for the dolls that didn't have the bones there? Did he just fill it in? Moskvin was aware that he was committing a crime, but he felt that the dead children were calling out to him to be rescued, and he believed that rescuing the children was more important than obeying the law. He was also motivated by his own desire to have children, specifically a daughter, but he goes on to say, he also said one of the motivations to doing this was because he wanted to have his own daughter. He goes on to say, these girls are girls. There are no parents in my view. I don't know any of them. Besides, they buried their daughters, and I believe this is where they terminate their rights. So no, I won't apologize. Moskvin often regretted that he never had children, and at one point did attempt to adopt a young girl against his parents' wishes, but his application was declined due to, low income. Moskvin denied any sexual attraction to the dolls and instead considered them as, his children, which honestly I do believe because he wasn't sexually active, and this is by on multiple accounts, his parents, friends. He wasn't sexually active, so yeah, I do believe that part, and at least he wasn't doing no necrophilia. He spoke to and interacted with the corpses. He sang songs to them and went on to, as I said before, watch cartoons with them. He even held birthday parties and celebrated holidays for their benefit. He said he dug up the graves of the girls because he was lonely. He said he was single and his biggest dream was to have children. In court, Moskvin confessed to 44 counts of abusing graves and dead bodies, and he said to the victims' parents, you abandoned your girls. I brought them home and warmed them up. It's not so cold inside my house. So I want to bring them home and warm them up. Okay, so my Russian accent kind of sucks. Just go with it. Moskvin allegedly told the authorities not to bury these girls too deeply because he will just simply come back and unbury them again when he's released. This is off of the accounts of one of Moskvin's victims was a mother of one of these little girls, and she says that she believes Moskvin should stay locked up for the rest of his life. She said, this creature brought fear, terror, and panic into my life. I shudder to think that he will have freedom to do whatever he wants and go wherever he wants. My family, nor any of the other families, will be able to sleep peacefully knowing he'll be able to walk around freely. He needs to be kept under surveillance, and I also insist on a life sentence. She continues, I still find it hard to grasp the scale of his sickening work, but for 9 years he was living with my mummified daughter in his bedroom, and I only had her for 9. Since his prosecution, several of Moskvin's colleagues quit their, collaborations with him, any work that they were doing with him, they were like, I'm out of here. Okay, so as for his parents, this is kind of sad, and I do feel bad for him. His parents live in utter isolation, and their community ostracized them, kicked them out, and all that. So one day, Elvira suggested that she and her husband perhaps just kill themselves because they're old, and why not? Nobody likes them anyways. But her husband refused. Good for you. Don't commit suicide. Don't do that. And both are unhealthy, and both are in an unhealthy condition. Okay, first off, don't commit suicide no matter how bleak your future is. If you're in a rough place and you are lonely and you need help and you don't have anybody to talk to and you're feeling suicidal and you have nowhere else to turn and you're about to call this number and they'll help you with everything that you could possibly need. This is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. It's available 24 hours a day, and they speak multiple languages, English, Spanish, and more. Call the number 1-800-273-8255. Like I always say, don't suffer in silence. The number again is 800-273-8255. Everybody has so much ahead of them, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to get through the bull crap of your everyday life and get to a point where you're okay. And these guys will help you out, and they'll guide you. They can give you therapy. They can do whatever they need. Call the number, get the help that you need. I don't want to see anybody commit suicide. I've had friends that commit suicide, and it sucks. Um, and I don't want to lose anybody sitting on this couch. It would devastate me if I found out one of my listeners had committed suicide. I don't want to lose anybody on this twisted couch. Let's save as many lives as we can. Call the number if you need it. Your life is important. Final thoughts. So this man he was brilliant. He could speak 13 different languages, studied all over the place. He was very smart. But what's the lesson? What more can I say about this guy? He was definitely a twisted individual. Yes, he was brilliant. He really was. But he started dabbling in the occult and, black magic. And that just goes to show where those twisted roads can twirl up and collide into a black hole of no return. Don't dabble in the occult. Stay away from that crap. But now, once again, you guys know what time it is. It is now time for that twisted top 5 recap. Okay, so number 1. In his youth, he was raped and bullied and really stuck to himself. But nonetheless, he was a brilliant young man and went on to speak 13 different languages. And he was a lot like Sheldon off of the Big Bang Theory. That's the best way I can, explain him. Didn't think coitus was important and really just focused on his research. Number 2, he loved the occult and practicing dark magic, all due to a girl coming to him in his dreams and introducing the black magic to him that ended in a ritual with a classmate's tooth who possibly is haunted by her to this day. Number 3, he was a brilliant man. He could speak 13 different languages and was also well known for being an expert on cemeteries and names and all the history that has to do with it. Number 4, he would take 26 girls from the ages 3 to 25, dress them up, stuff toys, rags, music boxes, personal trinkets, and so many other items, and would wrap them up, put makeup on them, put buttons in their eyes, and have them sit down and watch cartoons with them. Sitting there watching some Tom and Jerry. Could be, the episode where Jerry puts on invisible ink and teases Tom the whole time. Who knows? Who knows what they were watching? Number 5, in the end of it all, he feels he has done no wrong, feels no sympathy for the parents who were horrified by his actions, and due to what he did, his parents were shunned, where they contemplate suicide for their remaining days. That's all pretty heavy. Ugh, okay. Now it's time for the updates. Okay, so I decided to go solo. Because Neil decided not to do the show anymore, I've been forced to go solo. And I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I've thought about having guests come on, but we'll see where that goes. I want to grow the community first before we really get into all that. Guests, they'll come on later. I'll have, friends, family, random people come on and react, and we'll have some fun. Just not right now. That's in the future. Let's right now just get established and go from there. I thought about it a lot, and I decided that I'm going to do holiday specials, such as Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, etc. Make sure you guys come back tomorrow for the Krampus episode. Learn a little bit about, him being half goat, half demon looking creature. And I mean, come on. How else would you want to spend your Christmas? Let's learn about Krampus and try not to get beat with some thatch while we're at it. Wherever you guys are listening to the podcast, please make sure you give it a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, like, heart, whatever it has you do, because those funky algorithms is the main way for the show to grow. So the more you guys thumbs up, the more you share, the more we're going to grow, and the more likely I can do more things, have more guests, upgrade to video, etc. So it starts with you guys. Go ahead and share the twist, talk amongst your friends, show your family members, spread that sick twist everywhere. And that's all going to help us grow. The Twisted Couch Talk Facebook page. Make sure you guys are following that. Click that follow button. On the Facebook page, I update you guys about upcoming episodes, events. You stay in the now. When you follow the Facebook page, you'll stay in the now and you'll know everything that's going on inside the twist. So if any of you guys out there have any people you want me to cover, any topics or places in mind, go ahead and send me that in an email. Email it to twistedcouchtalkproductions@gmail.com. That's twistedcouchtalkproductions@gmail.com. Send it in to me, and I'll read them at the end of an episode, or maybe even make a bonus episode out of them. I would love to find out the stories that you guys could possibly have. So much twisted talk to be had. Feedback's important. That's how I get better. That's how I, make better episodes and all that. What do you think? What do you think of the twist? Give me your guys' thoughts on it. You guys can contact me on Facebook. Just look me up. All right. Where all can you find this podcast? You might be wondering. You can now get on Google Podcasts and find it there. Go to Spotify, Amazon Music, Podcast Addicts, etc. The places I'm still not available: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. Only because I'm waiting on verification emails, so that way I can upload my episodes, whatever app it is that I'm going to upload it to. Also, I'm thinking about uploading it on YouTube. It should be available on YouTube as well, but that's coming soon. Okay, I mentioned the Patreon at the beginning of the episode. Really quick, it's a subscription to me to help donate to the show, and so I can get better equipment, upgrade to video quality eventually, and just improve the show all the way around. It's a monthly subscription, and the bonus to it is you'll get the episode 2 days earlier, and you'll get all my, bloopers, cuss words, and just not the edited version. You'll get the full-on version instead of getting the censored version that I post everywhere. So check out the Patreon. There's a couple of perks with it, and, you can help out the show. So some people have been talking to me about merch. Am I going to do merch? I've thought about it, and I would, but right now it's way too early on for me to even begin to start doing that. So that, bounces back again to you guys. Spread the twist. The more people that we get listening to the show, the more likely I'm going to do merch. I would love to do merch one day and, make shirts and stickers and hoodies and all types of stuff. But that's to come. It's in the back of my mind. I've thought about it. And let's grow this podcast and get some merch coming your guys' way. Okay, so I mentioned in the first episode that you'll be able to check Instagram and a couple other places for these photos that I've been finding on the episodes. Well, turns out that they're too either graphic or unacceptable for some social media pages. Make sure you check in the description of the episode, and I'll have all the links there to where you can click it, and you can go to the videos that I've seen, the web pages that I researched and got all my information from. Also in the description is my Patreon. One more thing. Lastly, I'm also making a PayPal, so that way you can donate as much as you want, as many times as you want, or as little as you want, as few times as you want. It's basically there to anytime donate a certain amount of money. That's for the people who don't want to subscribe and do all that, but you still want to donate to the show and help out. I will have a PayPal. It's in the works right now, and it's coming soon. I'll announce it when it's available. Enough with all the business crap. Let's go ahead Okay, let's head back to reality just for a moment and put this journey to bed. I hope all of you enjoyed the telling of that story as much as I did. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys tomorrow with a Twisted Christmas special. So get your hot cocoa ready for tomorrow. But for now, don't paint at any graveyards. Don't use a classmate's tooth for a ritual. Put your couches back, kick out your friends, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the couch. And as always, stay twisted. You twisted.